My name is Dr. Kevin Pecca. I wanted to make a podcast that exposes people to the true miracles of life and health. All the guests on this show have been specially picked because they bring something positive to the world. They have some of the most amazing and inspiring life stories. These people have a passion for living, healing, and leaving the world better than they found it. There is something inside these people that made them keep fighting through all the tough times, even when people told them it was not possible. They carried on and made their lives beautiful again. And now they are sharing their experiences with the world. This is the Expect Miracles podcast. Enjoy the show. Marty Pelosi is a primordial meditation teacher out of the Center of Balance in Colts Neck, New Jersey. Today on the podcast, Marty takes us through his amazing life story and how he managed to find balance in his life and how he is helping others do the same. Marty is a very enlightening individual, and I'm very excited to have him on the podcast today. Please welcome Marty Pelosi. So, Marty, where are you from?
I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. That's where I was born, and we live in New Jersey now, in Howell.
There we go. What was it like growing up in Brooklyn?
Very different than New Jersey. A few reasons. Of course, I was a totally different person at the time.
And what kind of person were you?
Ego-driven, and the cliche about Brooklyn is the Brooklyn tough guy.
Yeah.
And it really was one hangout, didn't get together with the other hangout. There was a lot of fighting, violence.
Yeah.
Most of that stuff, at least in the 80s, that was real.
Yeah.
There was always drama, put it that way, and I was buying right into it.
And at what point did you feel like, oh, shit, this is a problem. I got to start doing something here?
Well, I remember a particular point. I have two daughters. You know them both, Samantha and Madeline.
Yep.
Samantha was a little girl at the time, and we were in one of our many apartments in Brooklyn, and I remember feeling threatened by where we were for her and myself and Jackie, my wife.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first moment that came over me that said, maybe it's time to look to move somewhere else. You have kids and you start thinking about the kids is what happens. And that's why we first made our way to Staten Island for a couple of years, and then finally out to New Jersey.
Okay. And were you heavily involved in music at this point, or was that something you just kind of did on the side? Or because I know you're a pretty good musician.
No. Yeah, my whole life at that point was about music.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I moved out of my parents' house on my 18th birthday, so I always had a job. All of us, we always worked, all the band members, but music was really my life at that point. And of course, music, it fit right into my ego life.
And why is that?
Well, think about the 80s.
Yeah.
The bands of the 80s were literally about sex, drugs, sex, and then music.
Yeah. So you're living that lifestyle.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
We never made it really big, but we did a little bit of traveling, and we did enough to get in enough trouble with that whole lifestyle. Yeah. And I know now, looking at it from this perspective, why I didn't make it, and the answer is I'd be dead.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
I mean, it always kind of works out, and you can't see it at the time. But
right.
So, Marty, what I love about your story, too, is because you've been on both sides of the spectrum, like what you were just talking about. And when I talk to you now, you just seem like you're in a very amazing, enlightened place. You're extremely collected and gathered person, and I really respect that out of you. So how did you get to that place of just to where you are now and the transformation, really?
I feel like so many people, even in those days in the 80s, a lot of the people that I knew at the time, a lot of us always had the feeling that just has to be something more.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that today, too, when I teach and even take classes, when we go to workshops and seminars and you talk to the people, one of the common denominators is we all had this sense that there's more.
Yeah.
There's more than meets the eye to this life. And what happened for me, and I think pretty typical, is a major event that happens to a lot of people that kind of, we call it the kick in the ass, really.
Yeah.
That kind of brings on a little bit of a shift. And that's the way it was for me. And the event was after Samantha was born, and it was just perfect, really the best day of my life up to that point. It was a perfect delivery, a perfect day. And a couple of years later, my second daughter, Madeline, was born, and it wasn't perfect. And she was born with what looked like was going to be something that was going to affect her and us our whole life.
Yeah.
And that was really the event for me. Now, I have to look back at that because, of course, I didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
But looking back, that was certainly the big event that kind of forced me to, basically, I had to say to myself, how could this happen? Why? And then the questions of, is there a God? And the common question is, how could God do this to me?
Yeah.
So all of those questions arise usually when something horrible happens.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty common.
Yeah.
So that kind of led me on my path, which that's been over 20 years now. So
right.
I've been through the whole realm of spiritual things, starting with a little bit of religion. I think that's pretty common too.
Yeah.
Because we don't know where to look for God. So I guess we're taught, look in religion.
Right. And
one thing led to another, and the way I see it now is obviously been guided the whole way.
Yeah, definitely. And so you had that moment with Maddie and her being born, and what were some of the next steps you took? Because you're absolutely correct. A lot of people have that moment, and it's life-changing. But the key is to stay on that path, because we still have a lot of distractions we have to work through, and we really have to work at it to stay on that path. So what were some of the things that you mentioned? You dove into religion a little bit. Yeah. When did the meditation and everything begin?
That really came about 10 years later.
Wow.
Yeah, 10 years into my little personal shift. But I think another thing that's common is a lot of pain.
Oh, yeah.
Pain and suffering from that event. And then there's a lot of confusion and misunderstanding, which I feel like a lot of people live with. A lot of people just live. They think that you have to live with this confusion and pain and misunderstanding. And I had a couple years of that. And what happens, and what happened for me, is you kind of feel like there's got to be a way out, because you need a way out. Yeah. And coming from that point of view, fully understand the idea of suicide. I really do. Yeah. I really do. Suicide is clearly the ultimate way out of misunderstanding, confusion, and pain. So I started looking into, it's all synchronicity, Kevin. Yeah. Once opened up, in a sense, there's almost nothing to do, and almost, you could say, the less you do, the better. So all of a sudden, could have been watching Channel 13, which I probably never watched up until the day that I did watch it. Guy like Wayne Dyer would come on. He always did these free broadcasts for PBS and Channel 13. And after my little dive into religion, I have to say that the first spiritual teacher that I totally, fully connected with was Wayne Dyer. He was really the first one. And that went on. Well, it still goes on today, but I couldn't listen to anybody else really for a couple of years. And
what were some of the things he was saying that really resonated with you?
The idea of change your thoughts, change your life. How about that? Yeah. That was a pretty radical idea 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And maybe because of just where I stand, but I don't think it's that radical anymore. I think that's almost anybody could understand that because...
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Almost anybody, because if I stand here with bad thoughts, it's easy to explain that you can't have a good life with bad thoughts.
Absolutely.
So, but at that time...
And
he really, really opened the door into this idea of a fuller, deeper awareness, which is what all of us know there is. We just don't know.
Absolutely.
We don't know where it is, and it seems elusive, but he was really the first one. And then what was so great about him is being who he is when he found another spiritual teacher that he thought was great, he would bring them up and talk about them at his lectures. Yeah.
That's great.
And I remember one time in the Jacob Javits Center, Jackie and I were there and the kids were there, Samantha and Madeline.
I love how you guys would bring them as well. That's great.
It's amazing. I was going, and a lot of times people ask me, especially at workshops, how did you get them to be here, to come or to go? And all we did is say we were going.
Yeah.
They didn't know where we were going. It could have been to the circus, and they would say, oh, I want to go, I want to go.
Yeah.
So they did go, and I would say, sure, I'm just going to listen to a lecture. And it was always so amazing to me that they never got bored. They never got restless at these things. They so clearly open to all the messages of something higher than what we typically used to connecting with.
Yeah, and they're both so ahead of their time.
Oh, my God.
They're just very mature and well-grounded people at such a young age, and you don't see that a lot. And I had no idea you brought them to those seminars at a young age. That makes a lot of sense. And it's like they wanted to be there, too.
They did. And another thing I hear a lot, because they've been doing these things with us really since they're little girls, 7, 8, 9 years old, is what did you do? What did we do as parents to create such children that are so connected? And my answer is very little. That's my answer.
Yeah.
It's more what we didn't do.
Wow.
It really is.
Yeah.
And
you let them find their own way, but you were there to guide them. Yeah.
Yeah. And believe me, as a parent, it's harder than you would think.
Yeah.
It really is. Sometimes to step out of the way as a parent is pretty difficult. But like anything else, that's a practice as well and becomes easier and easier, I think.
Definitely. So I'm guessing what was that person's name that you said you got really into?
Wayne Dyer.
Wayne Dyer. So by listening to Wayne Dyer and him bringing in other people, you probably dove even deeper into more workshops and more seminars and probably really opened the door for you.
It really did, and I'm so lucky to have a family and a wife that really let me pursue really whatever would come up. I would get this feeling, I have to go to this workshop, and this system would not work in a lot of marriages, let me put it that way. My wife has always let me go and...
That's amazing.
Explore.
So, Marty, how would you explain somebody, because a lot of people want to start meditating and they want to start opening the door and they have so much going on in their own life. It's tough to sit down and actually do that and open the door and get into that right place. Do you have any advice on how to begin, on how to silence the mind and all that?
Well, I'll first say what Deepak Chopra says. That's who I learned to meditate from, the Chopra Center and Deepak. And what they say and what he says is, if you don't think you have time to meditate once a day, you need to meditate twice a day.
Yeah.
And it's true because, listen, I have 2 businesses, a busy family, a big family that keeps me very busy. And there's people I know that are way busier than I, that if you want to find the time and it's important to you, could all find the time. For me, when I made the decision a couple of years ago that this is undeniably something that I'll do for the rest of my life, one of the things I had to do is wake up just a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And that's a meditation that pretty much I never miss in the morning, because all I have to do is whatever my plans are for that day is wake up a half hour earlier to fit it in. So it really is something that I feel like everybody could fit into their schedule. And it's so many other things. You have to do it to get the benefit, to kind of realize that you could do it, to get the benefit, to realize you could do it.
Yeah.
So
and
something has to come first.
Absolutely.
And there's no rules to meditation, but
absolutely.
If you had to create one, it would be just a tiny drop of discipline. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm glad you said there's no rules to meditation, because a lot of people think you got to sit in a quiet room, cross-legged, Indian style, with candles lit and everything. And really, meditation can be anything you want it to be as long as it works. It can be walking out in the backyard and just appreciating everything you see. It could be sitting in silence, but you don't have to be in Indian style. It could be the most comfortable position for you. Would you like to elaborate on that? Or?
Yeah, 100%. There really are no rules. Now, the meditation I teach is a specific meditation. Now, I teach it and I do it every day, and I also do other meditations too, guided meditations. So it's important not to be not only limited to one style of meditation, but, I've been telling the people that I teach now, at the end of the class, I say, because for 2 days I'll talk about this specific meditation practice and how great it is, as if it is I realize that it sounds like this is the only way, and I don't want it to be that. It's not that.
Right.
There's many ways
to get there, yeah.
There really are many ways. So at the end of my class now, I've been saying, let this just be the tip of the iceberg, the beginning.
Yeah.
Even if you do practice this meditation twice a day for the rest of your life, still, let it just be the opening to maybe a book you could go out and buy, or if you feel driven to workshop or a seminar, or go do yoga, or whatever it is. I think that's important. And I think to teach that is important as well. That
absolutely.
It's not my way or the highway.
Yeah.
I can teach you, in my opinion, an unbelievable system of meditation that is thousands and thousands of years old.
Marty, what technique are you talking about right now? What meditation?
It's called primordial sound meditation.
Okay, and how does it work?
It works that it's pretty similar to transcendental meditation, which is done by, it's over like 200 million people or something. It's the largest system. And this is similar. The main difference is they're both mantra meditations, which means that I'm going to give you a sound that you are going to repeat in your mind. But the difference between, if I gave you the word, let's say microphone, right? And I said meditate on that, and you would say microphone, microphone, microphone. Ultimately, that would lead to singing, and there's a band.
Wow.
And music.
Yeah.
That's the way thoughts are. They have a vibrational frequency that attract other thoughts. So what I give you is a word, it's a sound, and it's a vibration that actually has no meaning. It's a Sanskrit word.
I like that, yeah.
That has no meaning. And if you repeat something that has no meaning, this is how it takes you into the state of meditation. And the best part about it is the sound that I give you is the specific sound that the universe was making at your time of birth. So the moment that you manifested into the world, the universe, this planet specifically, and the sound is between the moon and where you are on the earth, there's a specific sound that was humming at that time. And
wow.
Yeah, it's very intense. And so I give you the word, the closest word to that sound in vibration that brings you back to that place of perfection and purity that you were born with.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That sounds very enlightening.
Yeah, and transcendental meditation is unbelievable. Obviously, it's the system that has done the most to bring meditation to the world, really. And they also have a mantra, but it's not a specific mantra. It's not a specific vibrational sound for you. So I have to stick up for primordial sound meditation here.
Yeah. So, Marty, talk about your center that you're just opening and what that's about and what you plan to see people achieve down there.
Yeah, so my daughter, Madeline, and I are partners in this center. I've been told from people that have the insight to tell me I'm a pretty old soul. And funny story is the person that told me that also told me that in a past life, I was pulling Madeline on some cart. So she was like the queen and I was the ox. So as old a soul as I am,